Eat a big bowl of pie right before bed. All right, don't go that far. What's going on? It's Thomas DeLauer with SixPackAbs.com, and I'm here to debunk another common fitness myth. And today, I'm talking about the fact that we're not supposed to have carbohydrates after 5 p.m. How many times have you heard that? Heck, I used to abide by that as well. I fell into the belief that if I had carbs at night, I would store that all as fat. And again, in theory, I gotta give credit where credit's due. It makes sense, right? Okay, we're becoming less active. We would think that we would end up storing what we're consuming. But it goes a little bit deeper than that. You see, we have to look at other physiological functions that require carbohydrates to help us get to sleep, to help us stay asleep, and to help our metabolisms do what they're supposed to do when it comes to resting and recovering. So first and foremost, there was one study that was done by the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. And this one's pretty common nowadays. Okay, this is the fact that we require certain amounts of carbohydrates to allow an amino acid called tryptophan to enter into our brain. So do you remember around Turkey Day on Thanksgiving, how when you eat turkey, they all say you're gonna get tired because of the tryptophan? Well, there is some truth to that. You see, what ends up happening is when you consume carbohydrates, it allows tryptophan to enter into the brain. That tryptophan converts into a neurohormone known as serotonin. Serotonin is a precursor to another neurohormone known as melatonin. Maybe you've taken melatonin as a supplement before. It helps you fall asleep. It's what helps your body regulate and adjust its circadian rhythm. Well, what this one particular study looked at was 3 different groups, okay? These 3 different groups were all put into a sleep lab for 3 days. They studied their sleep habits, how long it took them to fall asleep, et cetera, et cetera. One group was given white jasmine rice 1 hour before bedtime. The second group was given jasmine rice 4 hours before bedtime. And the third group was given brown rice 4 hours before bedtime. Well, the results were pretty alarming. Those that consumed the white rice 4 hours before bedtime fell asleep on average in 9 minutes. Okay, they fell asleep pretty fast. Then the next group, the one that consumed the white rice 1 hour before bedtime, fell asleep in about 15 minutes. Then the last group, the group that took in the brown rice, the low glycemic, slow digesting carbohydrate, well, they took 18 minutes to fall asleep. So what they ultimately concluded from this study was that eating carbohydrates about 4 hours before bedtime in a relatively high glycemic state, like white rice carbs, induces you to fall asleep a lot faster. It improves your sleep onset lapse time, which is very, very important. We all know that the more you sleep, the more fat you're essentially going to burn. Okay, now the next thing we have to factor in is a lot of people think that their metabolisms naturally slow down while they're asleep. And again, in theory, it makes sense. Okay, we're not moving, we're resting, we're sleeping. Why would our metabolisms increase? Well, the Canadian Journal of Applied Physiology says otherwise. They actually found by testing subjects that moderately exercised had increases in their heart rate and their metabolic rate while they were sleeping. Why does this happen? This doesn't really make sense. Well, it has to do with triggering your sympathetic nervous system. You see, when you work out, or even when you work out just a little bit, you trigger adrenaline, noradrenaline, cortisol, epinephrine, norepinephrine, all of these hormones and modulators that trigger our sympathetic nervous system to be a little bit wired, make you a little bit crazy on the inside. Well, that little bit of craziness on the inside triggers when you are asleep. And that means that your heart rate's going to increase, your respiratory rate's going to increase, and your metabolic rate, consequently, is going to increase, meaning you're going to burn more fat while you're asleep. So don't fall into the trap thinking that you're going to go all dormant when you're asleep, because in reality, if your body's recovering, you're going to actually be quite active. Okay, the third one that I want to talk about is brain activity. And you might be wondering, Thomas, why the heck does brain activity matter when it comes to burning fat or when it comes to actually having my carbs at night? Well, you see, our brain actually draws carbohydrates from our liver while we're sleeping. See, our brain is a portion of the body that remains very, very active while we're asleep. And if the brain is active, it can actually signal other hormones and signal other things to happen throughout the body that are going to allow you to burn more fat. So by consuming carbohydrates a few hours before bed, you restore that liver glycogen that directly feeds the brain. Even if you're on a low carbohydrate diet, simply allocating your carbohydrates to the evening is going to allow your liver glycogen to send the signal to your brain, fuel the brain, so the brain can stay active and send the signals to the body that the body needs to actually regulate metabolism and burn fat. So I hope that that's enough to convince you that your carbohydrates might be best in place shortly before you go to bed. Remember, there's lots of good things that we can do if we just arm ourselves with the knowledge. Okay? Education doesn't have to be boring. Education can be fun and exciting, especially when you can apply it to get the six-pack abs that you want. Hey guys, make sure you like, comment, and share this video as well as the SixPackAbs.com channel so that we can spread the word and get as much education out there as possible. Make sure that you keep it locked in here. Make sure that you're checking out all of the new videos that we're releasing all the time, always backed by science and always with you in mind. I'm Thomas DeLauer. See you soon.